Embrace your curves, love every part. Big thighs, big heart. Stand tall, shine bright. You're a star on my night. Big thighs matter, don't you see? Beauty in all shapes, that's the key. Confidence in every stride. Big thighs matter, let your light shine. Stretch marks, beauty lines. Each one tells a story so divine. Embrace your body, love your skin. In a world of standards, let self-love win. Big thighs matter, don't you see? Beauty in all shapes, that's the key.
Hey, you guys. This is Kimberly Beasley with the Thick Thighs Matter podcast. And today we have here Dr. Onnie.
Onnie? No.
See, that's why I was like, it's Onnie. It's how do you say
It's
Onnie?
Onnie.
Onnie, like you own it.
Yes.
Onnie.
I do own it.
Yes, you do. And that you do
it.
all of this. Onnie. Dr. Onnie Poe. Now,
Yes.
I can go through her resume because it's very long and extensive because I had her send me her bio. And it was like the messenger was like, bling, bling, bling. I was like, okay, got it. Message received. But we're just going to go straight into it. And I will give you her specialties. She's into mental health.
Yes.
Public health.
Yes.
Education.
Yes.
She's a mother.
Yes.
And she's a wife. Just had an anniversary.
20 years.
20 years. Congratulations. We're going to talk
you.
about that because I'm at year 12.
Okay.
And we're going to have to talk about how you got to year 20.
Okay.
And both of y'all are still alive to tell the story.
Oh, yes.
Amen. Won't he do it? Won't he?
He did.
Will.
He will and he did.
So we're going to talk about a lot of different things. I was going to go through all of her accolades and everything like that. But as we were talking, because I always talk a little bit early to mix it up just to get us warm and everything, I just felt like, nah, we're going to go different. And the stuff that we were talking about was mad deep. It was
I know. And I love different too.
Exactly. So first of all, thank you for
You're
taking
welcome.
your time out. What do I call you? Dr. Poe?
Whatever
Onnie?
you're comfortable. My name is Onnie, and my name was Onnie before I became Dr. Poe. And I look at Dr. Poe, it is a title. It is an honor that I earned.
Right.
But it doesn't define who I am. But Onnie is my name.
Okay. I like Onnie. I'm going to get it right. Because now I will not forget your name now because the way it said it's Onnie. Like I own it.
Yes.
Own it. All right. Remember that, guys. You see her in the streets. It's Onnie.
Onnie.
Oh, don't
you
Onnie.
got it.
Don't do Onnie.
Onnie. I've heard a lot of things. I don't know if I've heard Onnie.
No, you have never heard.
Maybe I have.
My sister, Shonda, first of all, I'm pivoting real quick.
Okay.
So we were both at the Wholeness Conference.
Oh, that was amazing.
That was straight fire.
It was amazing.
It was fire.
Yeah, I'm so glad I was there.
Listen, now, I don't even know what to say. Like, because there was so much going on. You had so many different aspects. And I was so shout out to my sister, Shonda.
Shout out to Shonda. That was amazing, Shonda.
That was,
you know what? But I want to comment about that, all the different aspects. That's us daily. That's us daily. And I've been thinking about that for some while. Like, we are a whole person.
Yes.
But sometimes we focus so much on each of those elements individually, like the mental, the physical, the emotional. You know what I mean? And we don't really, and spiritual, but we don't necessarily operate, for me.
Yes.
I realized that I wasn't necessarily operating in the whole totality of who I was.
Absolutely.
And that conference just, it allowed me to think about all those elements individually, but as a whole.
Right, they're all interconnected.
They're
Sometimes
all interconnected.
We handle them separately.
As if
the
they're
physical, like, oh, I just need to go work out and I need to do this. But there's a reason why. There's certain reasons for everything. And there was just something that carried away. I took away a lot, first of all. But the one thing I took away is, oh God, what was her name? It'll come to me. She said, the offense was their fault.
But the
healing is your responsibility. My God.
I know.
That freed me from so many different things.
That is so true. And that, I don't want to go too deep, too fast, but the healing is our responsibility. I remember when I came to that concept in my own healing journey, because a lot of my story has been talking about my childhood as it relates to my mom, right? But what I recognized, I asked myself one day, what if her only responsibility was to give me life? What if that was the only thing that God had asked her to do for me? Can I show up differently? And the answer was yes. So it was like I had carried all of this stuff, but then I got to that question. It was a pivotal question for me because she gave me life.
If she did nothing else.
If she did nothing
She
else,
did
that
that.
was the ultimate. And then knowing that she tried to not give me life once she found out that she was pregnant with me.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Right.
She had thoughts and ideas and plans, but they failed. And you know, it's a whole lot wrapped up in that, but the beauty of it is that I can say I forgive her for all of the things that I expected that I didn't get, that she probably didn't even have the capacity to give. And so where I was carrying resentment shouldn't have grown there. You know what I mean? It shouldn't have grown there, but it grew there and it took root. So when I hear things like the healing is my responsibility, it goes real deep for me because it is.
It absolutely
is, regardless of what that healing is from. I gave the example of my mother, but it can be anything. You know, we talked about my anniversary. It could be marriage. It could be an offense with a friend. It can be whatever. But what happens is we carry this resentment because we feel like they should have XYZ. They should have known better. They should have done better. You know, they didn't think about this. They didn't, whatever. But I really feel like there are some people who intentionally do harm, but most people don't. Most people have not intentionally harmed us.
Absolutely. I have my sister-in-law. Shout out. Hey, Sonia. We were talking about this during the summer. We were talking about the expectation of expectation.
Yes.
And so what we expect out of people, and then they don't live up to the expectation that they don't know that we put on them.
Exactly.
And then we're mad at them for what we put on them, and they don't even know that we expect that from them.
No. So much healing can happen if our expectations are communicated, because then someone has a target. You know, if I know that Kimberly, how do you prefer your name to be?
You can call me Kim.
Kim. If I know that Kim expects me to meet this mark,
right,
and I miss it, then I know how I can pivot. I know how I can adjust because I know what my aim is.
Right.
But if I have no clue what she even expects, then I'm gonna be all around it. And as long as I'm all around it, it's gonna be like, what you ain't trying to do. You know, that feeling. But no, I not only am I trying, but that's my ultimate desire. But if you don't tell me, then I can't do it.
And that is so true. I think it's been like this all summer for me.
Wow.
Where my sister-in-law said that, and then my niece, her daughter, she had came to visit here in Augusta for a little while.
Okay.
And we were talking about like friends or something. I always ask, how's this going? How's that going? And then she said something. She said, you know, I don't hold grudges. I hold you accountable. And I was like, oh, okay. I can rock with that. I always pick up stuff here, and I've been picking up stuff here and there all summer. And then to come into the wholeness conference and have is, you know, the offense is their fault.
Yeah.
But the healing, you cut my leg. I can't expect you to go get me a Band-Aid.
Right.
I can't expect you to go fix this for me. I need to fix it for myself.
Right.
And that just really freed me.
Yeah.
Right then and there, immediately, that freed me from a lot of things, a lot of resentment, a lot of anger and resentment from different people that didn't even know, child, that I was mad at them.
Exactly.
You know, because I ain't gonna lie, I hold a grudge. I can hold it.
See, I've never really been one to hold grudges a lot, because I always feel like whatever I hold is weight on me.
Right.
And a grudge is heavy. A grudge is real heavy. And one thing is, I do a lot of visualization, and something that I tell my children is, if I have a grudge, and I usually don't even have many grudges, but if I do, then I want to see it, name it, and then I visually imagine myself locking it away in a box. Because it's outside of my head. Because I know what it's like to carry pain in my body. Because I used to not be able to walk well. Physical therapy, water aerobics, diagnosed with fibromyalgia, handicap decal, because it was difficult for me to walk from the door, from my car to the house, from my car to the school building. When I realized that all of that was unprocessed trauma, pain, stuff that I was carrying physically, that was really mental, I wasn't ready to deal with all of it at one time. But I know I needed to release it. So release is a concept that I've been on for like 5 years, since my 40th birthday. And it's been a whole process. Now here, almost 5 years later, I see it so vividly. Like I went through a mental ideology of healing, letting go of what I was holding on so that I could set my soul free, right? And so I've been taking things out of my mind. And even those things, it's kind of like You pull out an old person, there's a bunch of old letters.
Right.
You may not be ready to read them, but you don't want to get rid of them, right? We carry all that stored up stuff. So I was pulling things down and then locking it away in a box. Visually, nothing was happening, but me just saying, okay, I don't want to carry that anymore. I don't understand it. I can't deal with it, but I'm not going to carry it. So I need to put this over here. Now I'm ready to go and throw that box away. Visually, because I don't need it anymore.
And that is, and I know. And look, I'm gonna work my way to putting it in a box. But the fact now that I can recognize.
That's the first step.
Recognize. No, you don't need that no more. No. It's over with. It's done. No. What are you gonna do about it now? That was like 25, 30 years ago. What are you gonna do? That was when you was 8 years old. There's nothing. What are you gonna do now? You let it go.
You recognize. When I first uttered the word release at my 40th birthday, it was just a word. And it's a long story about I had planned the whole masquerade party.
Okay.
And I wanted individuals to take their mask off, like the mask that they had worn in. But when they did that, it was like a supernatural moment when I was like, God, nah.
So you had them take their mask off?
I had them take their mask off, but this is what was happening to me.
You were seeing them.
They still seemed masked to me. So it was like my closest family and friends. Mm-hmm. Imagine you've gone out and you purchased this mask, right? So that mask was off. But as I was looking into their faces, they were still masked. So I started saying, take the mask off. Take the mask off. You got to release, because I felt like people don't show up as their authentic self. We wear masks.
And I think, I think in society, they made it normal to wear masks, but we call it code switching now. It's not, we're not saying I'm wearing a mask, we're code switching. So you go one place, you act a certain way. You go another place, you have to act a certain way because of the decorum and in the environment you're in. They say, oh, you got to know your audience. So we say know your audience. That means I have to code. If I can't be myself, then I have to code switch to cater to that audience. And I
ask questions like, why can't I? I don't want to code switch, not even to myself.
Right.
Because that I understand code switching in terms of what we're projecting out, but we code switch in terms of what we project in or what we don't project. Like light comes from within, right? The utterance of our heart and mind, that comes from within. But what we typically say out of our mouth sometimes is not our truth.
Very true.
That's code switching.
Yes.
How others perceive us based on what we give them, which is not our truth. Girl.
Because now when you start talking about, we're going to be here a while. Y'all might as well go and get your popcorn. We're going to be here a while, because when you talk about that, when you start talking about giving your truth, you got to be mindful who you give your truth to, because everybody can't take your truth as truth.
That's so. 5 years ago, that was my statement. So 5 years later, I'm saying they may not be able to take my truth, right? But I'm not diluting it anymore. I'm not chasing it anymore. You think about liquor, think about alcohol, right? Some people like Crown and Coke.
Yes.
Right? Alcohol has a certain proof to it.
It does.
Right? Some people can take some liquor and it's going to burn their throat. Right? Mm-hmm. And so they water it down with chaser.
Right.
They water it down with chaser. That's what we do with our truth, because of what the people can't handle it when we pour it out. All I'm saying is, I'm not providing the chaser.
I'm 100 proof, whether you like
it or
not.
I'm 100 proof. Right. I'm pouring out my truth. Whatever comes out of my vessel is my truth. After it's out, then it's up to the perception of whoever's perceiving it. But what comes out needs to be my truth, because if I pour out a lie, then I'm code switching.
But
you know what I mean?
Right, but if you don't give 100% truth, does that make you a 100% liar?
If I don't give 100%, yes. The opposite of the truth is a lie.
Right. So if I'm not 100% truthful, if you came to me and said, Kimberly, what do you think about my dress? And I'd be like, no.
Right.
If I say, girl, that look good on you, that's absolutely lying.
Right.
But if I say, girl, it's not to my taste. That's true.
That's true.
In love.
That's true.
And I think that's where some people have a problem with, because everybody that gives truth don't give truth in love.
Right.
They be like, girl, that ain't good, girl. I don't know about that. You ain't have to do all that. Sometimes and that's why people sometimes don't want to hear truth.
And you know what? When I hear you say that, even an example of like a dress, I tell my children all the time, I'm not really concerned so much with what's on my outer. And a lot of times when we're asking people about the truth is what we present on the outer, right? You
Right.
know, like in that example,
Absolutely.
if I asked you what you thought about it and then you said you liked it or you didn't,
Right.
then my truth becomes what you perceive of me.
Because I like it regardless.
Right. It doesn't solidify what I believe of myself.
Right.
And in a question like that, it's almost as if I didn't have a belief. Your belief became mine. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if you accept it. So
if I accept it.
So if you said to me, if I asked you how was my outfit, and you said, no, I don't like that. Well, I like it. I'm rocking
Right.
it works for me. But if I take it and say, oh, well, I got something else in the bag I can
Right.
put on. Now I have accepted.
Exactly.
I have accepted your truth over
Exactly.
my truth.
Exactly. And I would answer that question if you ask how do you like my outfit? I'm going to say, are you comfortable? Because society puts too much emphasis on how people dressing up the outside. And it's so many people dressed up on the outside and they broken on the inside.
Very true.
I don't even care about all of that. I made a post one time and I think it said my name is my brand. Because I don't wear name brands. If I do wear name brands, somebody has given it to me. Like, it's never important to me how I dress up my vessel. It's important to me what's wrapped underneath this. Like the purity, not the purity in the sense of how we can, you know, because I do some stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But my inside needs to be right. And we put so much emphasis on the outside. But anyway, that's a whole different story. But it goes back to that mask and the code switching. I'm asking people, I'm going to look in the camera for this. Listen, are you code switching to yourself? Because once you recognize your code and you can own your code, then the world perceives you differently because you're pouring from your truth. Get your code right. I might have to do a whole seminar on
That's
code
a whole
switching.
code.
That's a whole coaching.
So where are you from?
I am from Lenox, Georgia. South Georgia is about 4 hours from Augusta.
That's in Valdosta?
Close.
Area?
Okay, if you know Valdosta, it's 34 miles north of Valdosta. You can take I-75.
Okay, yeah, because my folks is from Colquitt, Miller County.
Okay.
That's Colquitt, Georgia.
Okay.
Because you have Colquitt County.
My mom and my brothers live in Colquitt. So when you said Colquitt, I'm thinking
Colquitt County
that's
or
Moultrie.
Colquitt?
They live in Colquitt
They live
County.
in Moultrie.
Yeah.
Yes. My family live in Colquitt, Georgia.
I didn't even realize
There
that.
is
it's
a Colquitt.
C and an M. So Miller
County
is Colquitt, Georgia.
Moultrie is in
Colquitt County.
Yes. And so my family lives in Colquitt, which is Miller County,
Got
which
you.
is South Georgia. So I think from Valdosta and that's about another hour, hour or two south.
Okay.
We're right in the corner where we can throw a rock and hit Dothan.
Really?
And hit a rock.
My dad lives in
hit
Dothan.
Tally.
Okay.
Right. So I think like 45 minutes from Tally, about 45 minutes from Dothan. Right there in that
Yeah,
tuck.
my dad lives Dothan.
Yes, Dothan's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's coming along.
It is.
So that's awesome. So you're not from here. What brought you here?
I came here fresh out of college. And it's so funny. My daughter leaves tomorrow to go to college at Georgia Southern, and that's where I graduated from in 2001. But I moved here for a job. Literally fresh out of college. When it was time for me to graduate, I was sending my resume everywhere. I knew I wanted to my major was health behavior. It's in the public health field. And I knew I wanted to work with individuals about, now I understand it to be their overall wellness, but I didn't really know it at the time. And it's amazing to me that even as a young girl, I majored in health behavior, and it was all about behavior change. I remember when I first learned about the trans-theoretical model and, stages of change, pre-contemplation, contemplation, action, maintenance. That stuff was stuff that I grudgingly studied, right? But now when I tell you, I recognize how I have used those stages of change throughout my life, and now where I'm at in this part of my journey, I can really put that degree into work now. And
I've got many years ago. Now you're like, I'm in it now.
And I have other degrees since then. I have 4 college degrees. Like who does that?
Who does that?
Who does
Who
that?
does that?
You know what I'm saying? Even like going
That's
back to my name and whether or not, like Dr. Poe, all of that stuff was for me. That's why it's easy for me to say, you can call me Onnie because that's my name. Not only is that my name, but that was my name before I was even conceived.
Do tell.
You understand?
Do
you don't.
tell.
Let me tell. So there's a story so my mom is one of 8 children. She had It was 4 girls, 4 boys. Yeah, 4 girls, 4 boys. So there was an I lived with my great aunt. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yeah, you do.
But her husband, so my great aunt's husband, his name was Redmond. He died before I could remember him, but apparently I was his girl, right? So he told my mom and her sisters he had I don't know if Onnie was his sister or Onnie was someone in his family, right? I want to say sister, but I don't want to mistell the tale, right? So he told my mom and her sisters that whichever of them had the first girl, they need to name her Onnie and that they would not regret it. So before I was even conceptualized, my name was given. And of course, Mama said, she didn't really know, but she just thought Uncle Redmond said it's something special about this name, right? So my name is Onnie Latoya. Now get this, on the day that I was born, Uncle Redmond gave me my nickname, which is Lady. So the tale is that when I was born, I came here. I was going to say came here. That's the talk. She came here looking. I came here looking like I had been here before. And so he said, look at her looking like a lady. Said that my cheeks were rosy. It looked like I had stuff on my face, like what they said was like makeup. I don't know. I really want to see what that looked like. But he named me Lady. But what's interesting, going back to the wholeness conference, I was talking at the table that I was sitting there on Saturday. And sometimes I hold back from talking because I know I go in. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll take somebody's mind all the way to the root of a thing, right? And they're used to looking at the dead leaves. No, I get to the root. But one of the girls at the table was like, she heard me say my name. She was like, "What does your name mean?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't know." And she looked it up, and we had already exchanged numbers. She sent me a text, and it said, "Of the divine."
Oh, that was going to be my question. What does your name mean?
Of the divine. Of the divine. So now me at this point in my life, it's like, my name is divine, and I was divine, and I am divine, and we are of the divine. And when I tell you, it means so much more to me today and now at this phase in my journey. I don't know how I go from where I'm from to all of that, but I feel like it's all, that's what makes me whole.
All interconnected.
It's all interconnected.
Yes.
Before the conference and for some time, I've been having this statement that I say, it's my beautiful fragments that make me whole.
Yes.
All of the fragments brought together because I went through years of feeling broken. But broken is when something has been made whole and it shatters. I look at fragments now, or wholeness, as I'm being made whole. Not that anything is broken within me, but it's all these components of me coming together to create the masterpiece that God saw when he created me. And it's never going to be complete until I'm complete.
When will we ever be complete, though?
I think when our journey on earth is done. And I don't know what happens next.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But that's what I mean.
That's what I mean. Completion is like, completion is like finite. Okay, this is completed. And that's the only way, I guess, to say that this is completed. Right. But that is wonderful. And he had the wherewithal to say, I want the first girl to be named this here.
Yes.
And then gave you a nickname straight from
the day I was born.
Lady.
On the day I was born, I've been a lady. And so I thought about that the other day, like, man, if I just lived up to my name, my work on earth is done. Be authentically who I am, putting out into the world what I was created to do that no one can do but me. Because I believe that if anybody else could do what I was created to do, then I wouldn't be a part of that creation in that way.
Because we all have a purpose.
We all have a purpose.
We just have to figure out, tap into what our purpose is.
Feel it. Yeah.
That is absolute. So now that you graduate from college, you come to Augusta because there was a job for you here in Augusta.
Yeah, it's a story about that too. I'll say that for another episode.
so you have been here. You're basically an Augustian.
I am. I've been in Augusta longer than I lived in Cook County because I left at 17.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm basically an Augustian. This is where I've grown up at.
It's amazing to see how much changes has happened in Augusta over the years. Because I was in the military, so they brought me here. My first time I was here was in 1995.
Okay.
I was here from 1995 to 97.
Okay.
I did an overseas tour, hardship tour. I came back in 98.
Okay.
And then I did an overseas tour to Germany. And from 90, I came back in 98 to 2000. And then I left in 2000. Came back in 2005, and I've been here ever since.
Really?
Right. So I'm practically
Yeah.
Augustian myself. And it's amazing to see the changes.
Right.
That have gone on over the course of this time frame. And I know we still have a ways to go.
Right.
But I enjoy the changes.
I do too.
I enjoy seeing the city grow. It was different from a different point of view. I was a soldier.
Okay.
So my point of view was, I'll just go home, go to work, and go home. I never really interacted with Augusta until I retired.
Got you.
Until I retired, then I was familiar with downtown. Then I became familiar with different things that Augusta had to offer. So I was introduced. I was in the military, so my eyes was on that.
I was just, when you were saying that, I'm so visual. So when people talk to me, I'm literally hearing as if I'm watching a movie.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about just the shift, from a soldier to now I'm a citizen in this city. I'm a resident.
Yes. Very scary.
And just that's a whole different perspective.
Is it very scary? It was the transition was very scary.
Wow.
It was very funny and very scary. What I should have done is not jump from being a military and into business. I should have gave myself a year or two.
Gotcha.
I should have gave myself
to
a year
learn the
or two.
lay of the land and from a new land.
To learn,
and to interact.
Learn how civilians roll, because I didn't know, because I was in the military from 17 up until 18 until 39. So I was raised there.
Do you do any work already on military transition into business? When you said that, I just saw a whole package. I
don't. Because the crazy part about me is when I left that. I don't even go to the commissary. I don't do anything with the military, anything. I will help vets if I see some vets. I help vets and everything like that. But as far as, I think when a chapter is closed, and when I decide to close a chapter, it's really closed.
That makes sense. I like hearing you say you help vets, because maybe that's what I'm feeling in my spirit. You helping the vets that are transitioning into business just based on the 5 top things that you learn. Now, like hearing you say you would have given yourself a year.
Absolutely, because
that's what another veteran who's going to open a business needs to know.
Yes, because my thought process was, in the military, if you're supposed to be in formation at 8 a.m., you are there in formation at 7:45, 10 to 15 minutes prior. Civilian, if I say you got to be to work at 8 o'clock, they walking through the door at 7:59, enough time to go punch the clock. And so my attitude,
that is
I feel so bad for my first employees, my first couple of years. My God in heaven, I was on them. I was irritated, and the expectation
yes,
because I expect you. If I say the boutique opens, you need to be to work. If the boutique opens at 11, you need to be here at 10:30 to be ready. I'm expecting you to be here at 10:15, and they
you would have fired me.
You're not paying me.
You would have fired me day one, because that is not. It's nothing soldier like about me. I wish now that I would have had, like I have, some type of discipline, because I could stand at this big age to be more disciplined. I could say that with all sincerity, and I'm not. So I would have been. My track record of being on time to work is probably maybe like a 3%.
And that is probably my biggest pet peeve. Time.
Wow.
Time, because that's something that I probably will never be able to get out of myself. Time, we have been taught on time, because when you're not on time, you're wasting somebody else's time. It's disrespectful to that person's time. That's how I perceive it. When if you are. Okay, there's one thing to be late. Okay, you're 5-10 minutes late, but on a consistent level, now you're just playing in my face, and that ticks me off.
That's what people have felt about me for so long, and let me tell you, as crazy as it sounds, and I got some cousins out there that I know will watch this will be like, Onnie says that all the time. Time is abstract to me, so you're helping me understand how people have thought that I'm being inconsiderate and I'm playing in their face, which in essence, when I say I don't understand time, I mean that with all sincerity, Because if I'm in process of and I know, there's an expectation, this, and that.
Right.
But I don't, it's nothing in me that really have the urgency that I'm disrespecting someone else if I can't meet that. You know what I'm saying? And so 9 times out of 10, I show up after time or late.
Oh, wow.
And I've been like that forever. And I've been
wow.
saying to people forever, it's an abstract to me.
Ooh.
And it is. Like, I'm not saying that because I want to make an excuse for
Right.
for thinking that I'm better than, none of that. It's just that time is something that I'm always, like, every moment is now for me. And I think time is like a man-made construct.
Oh my goodness.
And I go real,
that's really deep, because that would drive me bananas, because I'm more of a, if there is a lot of things that I don't still hold, I'll say that, because the military, even the way that we're taught in the military to deal with our subordinates.
Okay.
I had to unlearn that. I can't deal with my employees the way I dealt with my soldiers. And that's why I said I gave myself that time. I should have given myself at least a year or two to decompress.
I see. I want to
come
do
out of
something.
that.
I want to do. Every time I meet somebody, I'm thinking about ways that we can, like, strengthen our own lived experience and collaboration.
Absolutely.
And I do a workshop on emotional intelligence. And one of the things is, the top 2 things in my workshop is about self-awareness and self-regulation. So when I'm hearing you talk about that, and I'm going back to my idea of what you could do with veterans, I'm thinking about how teaching business owners or whatever, or helping them recognize that those things that may drive them up the wall in their employees, how they can strengthen that, how they can communicate the expectation in such a way that it translates. Because I don't have any military background.
Right.
So I don't have that structure that seemingly is what the world expects. Because every job wants somebody that's going to be on time.
Right. And you have to know how to, even when they're not on time, you still have to know how to handle, and I didn't have that. So my first couple employees, Tanya, sorry, I had a deal, like, they really caught it from me, because my attitude wasn't right. And instead of me just saying, hey, why weren't you on time? And then they could have told me, well, Kim, I get paid from 10:30 to 6, 10:30 to 7. I don't get paid 10:15 to 7. And then that would have been like, oh, okay. Because I can't expect, we're not on a military salary and you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be and directed. That's not the same thing in the civilian sector. No, honey, I'm being paid to be here. This is not, I'm not patriotic.
Right.
I'm not patriotic. This is about you paying me.
I love that you can see it. I love that you, so in terms of the emotional intelligence, I love how self-aware you are.
Yeah,
that you can see that.
It took look, that was how long I've been in the business, 13 years.
Wow.
So it took me probably by year 5 to
wow.
realize that I was being a butthole, because I would be like, well, why you not here?
Yeah.
What's going on? And then they'd be like, oh, Kim, I got caught at the train. You ain't getting caught by the train every week. Well, until I started running that route, yeah, the train run like that every week.
Wow.
And seeing that, yeah, if you run this route, coming to work, sometimes you're going to hit that train and that train sits. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
But see, that came from a point of view of not being in Augusta, because I lived up on the hill over there by Fort Gordon. And so there's no trains that run like that hard. Like, you may catch the one in Grovetown, but that's not it. So
and sometimes we can't see into another person's experience, and we not judge in the sense of judging, but we process, I'm gonna use a different word, another's experience in relation to our own.
Yes.
So they're saying train, but you can't see that. So you can't conceptualize how a train could be, a barrier to them being there.
How a train can really wreck your day. Until I lived on the south side.
Got you.
And I would have to come to work on Broad Street, and I would take that route and get caught at the train.
Wow.
And I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, this train ain't gonna be long. And then it goes, it just stops. I said, I know this train ain't stopped.
Wow.
And you can't go nowhere. You can't go around it, because it's running. You can't do nothing with it. And that's when I realized, oh, so this is the train that they
Because
talk about.
their experience now became your own. When I hear that, I think everything is deep to me, but it's really not. It's shallow to me, but when I
Right.
speak, it comes off as deep. It's
Yeah.
just the way I think. But I'm thinking about that in terms of experience. And, I think when we share stories and we share voices,
Mm-hmm.
we can learn from others' experiences. And I'm thinking about how that theory applies in other situations and how people can't get the compassion or the empathy or the respect that they deserve and need when they're sharing their experience because
Right.
another person can't see it and they haven't experienced it. When you experience that, whoo, or whatever the train sound,
When the train, I'm thinking the train gonna keep moving,
and it stopped.
and it stopped, and I said, "Oh no, this train stopped." And then I'm like, 15 minutes in, 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, I'm still sitting there waiting on the train. I didn't know there was no way to go around the train because the train was parked and it was
Whew.
long. So it was parked. It was parked all the way from the Augusta Museum all the way down. The train just stopped. And I was like, okay. So now I can see how you be 30 minutes late for work.
Girl,
Now I can see how you be late
yes.
for work. If you're running this route coming across Broad Street or coming downtown on these ways, even if you're coming up Telfair, whatever, you're
Right.
coming across and you see the train, you're like, oh man, let me call. I'm gonna be late. The train, I'm stopped by the train. I'm like, that's a load of crock. Ain't no train keeping
Wow.
you no whole 30 minutes until I sat there at that train for 30
And now
minutes.
you know.
And now I get
And
it.
now you can have more compassion and you can let other people know, even if it's no train, but you could say to business owners, when your employee is late, really find out what's preventing them from being there on time and make sure that they understand your expectation and how you translate time, because that may be a difference.
And that's still my point of reference as well. It's
Yes.
why no matter, yeah, the train, my thing is still when I feel you play with my time. It sounds crazy. Playing my time, playing my face, because I got a lot of stuff I can be doing. But if I'm sitting here waiting on you, and then you just sashay in and be like, oh no, that doesn't.
And
I'm already twisted by that point.
They could have went through the biggest
and
crisis.
could have.
I saw that in real action. I'm gonna share this quick story. Monday, my boys were at home, and my husband and his friend was home as well. Well, my husband was home from work, and his friend was over, and they was chilling in my husband's little man cave, right? And they was having a conversation, and the conversation came up as to what do young people call marijuana these days, right? Because the men were talking about young people going back to school, all of the things that they get into and all of this stuff, right? So I heard them, but I was like, I'm going to stay out the conversation or whatever. My husband's friend told him to send me a text and ask me. When I got the text, I went and said, you got 5 young black boys in your house.
Ask them.
Go ask them.
Yeah.
Right? Go ask them. So the men eventually came out and they had a conversation with the guys. And my oldest son never made it outside, right? So I'm sitting at my dining room table. I'm on doing whatever I was doing on my laptop, and I hear my son coming towards me, and I'm thinking, it's been at least 10 minutes since they daddy told him to come outside, right? And my son is always late. He's just like me. Like, he's always late coming from whatever, but he's consumed in what he has going on. It's not that he's late like, ooh, I'm going to make myself late so I can be inconsiderate, or I'm going to make myself so I can be disrespectful. No, he's consumed in what he has going on. So anyway, I feel my son coming to me, and I look up from my computer to say, boy, if you don't get yourself. But when I looked at his face, his eyes were red, and he was rubbing his eye. What happened is that he had an issue with his contact going up into the top of his eye or something. And I looked at him and I said, oh my God, you look like you were in a crisis. And he was like, I was in a full-blown crisis, blah, 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 blah. And in that moment, Kim, I thought about, I could have made the assumption that he was just being inconsiderate.
Right.
And it made me think about how many times I have made that assumption, and I met him with, boy,
you
all of that,
daddy called
all
you
of that,
get up on that bed.
all of that,
yes,
like I hadn't seen.
And he like, I'm about to lose a whole eye
exactly
over here, and you talking about me going out.
Do you know? I told my son, I said, come here, please, let me give you a hug, and I apologize for all of the times that I missed what was really going on with you. Like that was like a pivotal. I take the smallest daily situations.
And you do. You take all of it.
I do. I literally see all of it.
You
and
do.
I experience life deeply. And I wish other people could experience life
and to
like
be able to
this.
apologize. And I know your son probably they're used to it. I'm sure they're used to it. But
you know what? I feel like I allowed something to grow in him that day that wasn't something that he needs to uproot later.
right.
You know what I'm so mindful of the seeds that grow in our children. Another thing was shared that day, and I want to share this. And I feel like I'm going to have to share it. Also, so that one son missed the conversation, right?
Right.
He had a situation with his eye. The other son went out and had the conversation, and I prepped him for it. I told your daddy to talk to y'all about this because they don't really have that kind of conversation.
Okay.
And another thing I realized that day is a lot of our women, we do a lot about what our boys need and what the men are not doing. Mm-hmm. I finally recognize, men, that some of what you're not doing, you may not know to do or know how to do. So women, we've been carrying resentment for what the men have not been doing, but that resentment is based on our expectation that we have not communicated.
Expectation of the
expectation. So they don't know to do it, right?
Right.
Because it's easy for me to say, well, my husband home and he out here watching a movie with his friend. He got 5, because I did. He got 5 boys out there. Why he asking me? Why don't he go ask his boys?
Yeah.
But when I asked him to do that, he did. Had I not asked him to do that, he may not have even had the thought, right?
Right.
So let me tell you about my other son. My other son comes back and tell me, hey, Ma, I enjoyed that conversation. Tell me what they talked about. Told me they talked about guns. Then he said, I can't wait until I'm old enough to get a gun. Literally, when he said that, something pulled in me. Like I felt my chest tighten, right? Boy, and he was on my left like this. What you mean get a gun? You can't get a gun.
Right.
Guns kill people. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you can't have a gun. And my son is like, yes, I am. I'm getting a gun. And I'm like, son, you cannot have a gun. Why would you even need a gun? Words, girl. My son said protection. So I say, you don't need a gun to protect you, right? But guess what? I had forgotten, or I hadn't thought about it in a while. Last year, my son was at Diamond Lakes, and another young black boy held a gun to my son's head. My son is 15. Oh, no, my son is 14, excuse me. So at the age of 13, a gun was held to his head.
Oh, wow.
That's tragic.
That is.
That is tragic.
That is.
I have not even thought about that moment in months. I found out Monday, my son lives that moment every day. So you talk about trauma growing in children.
Yes.
That we got trauma growing in us that we haven't recognized.
Right.
But when I could recognize trauma growing, now I have the responsibility to try to uproot that, right?
Right.
So, but this is hard because now I'm out here advocating in the streets about our young people need this, our young people need this. Young black boys, they carrying guns, they killing people, blah, 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 blah. And now here my young black boy saying he want a gun. And when he say for protection, he's talking about protection from a moment that he's experienced before.
Yes.
So in his mind, I can't speak for him, but I'm imagining he probably feels like had he had a gun that day, then it's going to be a matter of I'm going to shoot you first. You know how heartbreaking that is for me?
Yes.
And I'm literally sitting there with my son looking like, no, but understanding I got to hold the fact that he has an experience that he's carrying.
You can't speak against that. Because he had the experience.
He had the experience.
Yes.
So when he says protection, it goes back to that train.
Exactly.
Something has stopped in him that he feels like I had somebody that had a gun in my face and I couldn't do nothing about it.
He got the drop on me.
Yes.
Nobody's ever going to get the drop on me again. Nobody's going to get the drop.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh, so hard. And then to go back to that day, my other son, now I'm imagining in my mind because one of them is a bullhead and he's the one that's bullheaded. But he was able to be still, not knowing what this boy going to do.
He was calm.
He was calm.
And you know what? In our sons, since we're, hey, Jay. Hey, Jay, Jamila just walked in on the podcast. So the
Ooh, thick thighs
do matter.
Yes.
So
thick thighs.
So you do mental health, public health, and education. I think we talked about all of that. So I want to pivot and go into, you've been married for
20 years. I made a post yesterday and I had counted up the months and the
Did
and
you
the
do
days
the months and the days?
and all of that stuff.
No.
Girl. I wanted to know. I looked at them and when I got the number of months, I thought about, okay, it's 52 months in a year. And sometimes it's the new year and all of this stuff. We got another 52 months. But really to think about the fact that I have been married 20 years and I never wanted to be married. Like a lot of women, you've planned your whole life and, oh, I want a husband so he can do this and I can do this and we can be this. And I know people waiting on their king so that they can
power couples.
Yes, so they can be this. That was never my story.
No,
I didn't want any of that.
So how did you end up with Mr. Poe?
How did I end up with Mr. Poe? So I met Mr. Poe at church in Augusta.
Okay.
Wrightsboro Road, Macedonia. It was Macedonia Baptist Church then, and we both were members of Macedonia. Right. And I was really big time into going to church. I'm young. Remember, fresh out of college?
Yes.
Well, I had been out. I met him in 2003, and I graduated college in 2001. So I was very active at church, part of the singles ministry. And I was also part of a ministry called, it was a tribal ministry. So based on last name, they had us separated into tribes. And that was a concept of, togetherness and membership and belonging if you join a big conversation. So my maiden name is Payne, a P.
Okay.
So Craig's initial was Poe, right? So back at the time, I used to go to Bible, I forgot this part. I used to go to Bible study all the time too. So after Bible study, you would go around and greet people, and I'm an introvert. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into the whole introvert extrovert thing, but I greet people. Mm-hmm. So I would see him all the time, and he would kind of wave and all of this stuff, but it was just a wave because I was waving at other people too, right? It wasn't really nothing to the wave. How you doing? Good to see you again.
Amen, brother.
Exactly, like that, right? So then I was a member of the church before he was a member of the church. But when he joined the church, it was my responsibility as the tribal leader to invite him to our tribal meetings, right? And I didn't do that. And I don't know why I didn't do that, but I didn't do that. But one night we had Bible study and we were going to have a singles ministry meeting right after.
Okay.
I don't know. We usually don't have it on the same nights. I don't really know what was going on. But I said, we might have spoke and I invited him to the singles ministry meeting or whatever, and he came. And then we would have events, and I would call and remind people of the events, and he started coming, right? But still, it was like nothing to me because I was social. I would interact with people and all of this stuff. I have a friend, Shayla. We used to jokingly talk about him because he used to match, like shirt matching the shoes, and I was like,
matchy.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, like look at him, like he is just so different. Not necessarily not my type, because honestly, I don't even know if I ever really had a type.
Right.
But he's just this different kind of man. But I would start inviting him to the singles ministry meetings. And then he would come to the meeting, and then when we had outings, he started coming to the outings. And then one day he asked me out. And I'm like, okay, I can go out, see what it's about. But I was dating, like not really anybody serious, but I'm a single woman. You know what I'm saying? So I had some other suitors, if you will, at the same church as well. I was kind of, but I really was just living life.
You was having a good time. And that's what you should do when you're dating and you're in that season of dating. Date.
And the season, and I think I experienced the season of dating differently than a lot of women, because a lot of women experience dating with the intent on finding someone to marry. But remember, I wasn't looking for anyone to marry.
You was having fun dating.
I was having fun living.
Right.
Because I don't really build out towards this expectation.
Right.
I'm living. I'm in the flow.
You weren't dating to marry. You were just having a great time.
I was just having a great time. So he asked me out, and I accepted, and we went on a date. And this man is the most different man that I've ever met. He's still the most different man that I ever met. And I didn't know how to receive that because he literally asked me out, and when I accepted, he came and picked me up, you know, and he was driving. He used to joke. He jokingly used to say he used to drive this little Geostorm, right?
Oh.
And that's all I saw at church. But when he came to pick me up, he had this real nice Expedition, sitting on some rims. You know, like he had a whole different persona.
Was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but that stuff never really mattered to me.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that he realized was that, like he said that women treated him differently. Like if he would be riding around in his Geostorm, then women would look at him one way, but every time when he was in his truck, women looked at him a different way. And to me, I don't care what you drive, because I don't see that kind of thing. So he immediately knew that there was something different about me, just in the way I interacted and perceived him based on what he drive or what he was driving at the time. And that's so interesting to me, because I think that's so trivial.
To some people it is.
But to some people it's everything, right?
You got to hit that checklist.
And I didn't have a checklist, but guess what? My mom did. And I was talking to her, even driving here today, because she was talking about my anniversary and how proud she was of us. And I was like, Mama, I didn't think I was going to make it. Like, throughout the years. Like, I remember going into year 18. I think it might have been year 18. I remember this so vividly. We were on the deck, maybe for my husband's birthday. And my husband had sent me something, you know, like one of the things that I have been saying my whole marriage is that he doesn't know how to communicate, right? And when I would say that, it would have resentment attached to it. Now I realize, if he doesn't know how to communicate, it's not that he doesn't desire to. It's not that he knows how when he's withholding it. He just don't have it. So what I have resented is actually something that he didn't have the capacity to give. So now how can I look at that differently, right? But going back to that day, I remember being on the deck and how he had said something or text something probably that had pissed me off. And, you know, like something, it was an essence if we make it to our 18th anniversary. I believe it was 18. It could have been 19.
With the if.
It was the if. And that night we was doing something. He wanted to make a toast that we make it to whatever. And I remember clearly what it felt like in my body when I said, I can't drink to that.
Ooh. Because
at that point, I'm thinking, I don't know if I can. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I just don't know. And it's over the years, it's been the frustration in communication, the frustration in all of this. But he probably carries that same frustration. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so last night was a pivotal moment for me. Yesterday, just knowing it's 20 years. And I really, really feel like when the Bible says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, I am a good thing.
Absolutely.
I am a good thing, right? And I've wanted nothing more to be a good thing for him. And I'll tell my husband something that most women won't tell their husband. And that is, I don't want you to lack anything.
Right.
And if it's something that I cannot give you, I don't want you to lack that thing.
Message.
I don't. And we have to do another podcast.
Ooh, because you see my face go, you're not about to say, please expound on
that. But I can't really expound on it right now, right, and save time. But what I mean is, I want his ultimate happiness. And I mean that, right? I do, in all sense. And you can take that in so many ways.
So we're going to have to bring Onnie back for that one, because I got that's.
But guess what?
That is very selfless.
I am selfless.
That's selfless.
I am probably one of the most selfless people that you will ever meet.
That's selfless.
Because this is what I think. If there's a need, my organization is filling in the gaps, right?
Right.
If there is a gap,
ooh,
not anything can fill that gap.
Ooh.
Some people are filling gaps with stuff that don't go in the gap.
Amen.
I don't want to fill any gap if I don't belong. You know how people say get somebody else to do it? If it's not for me to do, I'd rather somebody else do it. And I mean that on cross all domains. But
message.
Back to marriage, a lot of people can hear this and they think that I'm immediately saying, I'm giving him permission to just go out and do whatever with any other woman. If that's what you're thinking, that's not what I'm saying.
Not.
That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, I want his ultimate fulfillment. And I've never wanted to withhold that from him, but I realize how empty I've made him feel, right? So guess what that emptiness comes from? The expectations that he had of me that I didn't know. The expectations that he couldn't communicate or didn't communicate.
Or could it come from the expectations of what you were doing back then? Because 20 years is, you're not that same person anymore.
You know what? He has told me throughout the years that I'm not the same person that he married. And the first time when he really sat me down to tell me that, I had this moment of, why should you want me to be? Why should you want me to be? I believe in evolution. I believe that we're growing stronger every day. So if you met me in 2003 and it's 2024, do you really want me to be who you met me back then? The things that I was doing back then are the things I knew to do then. I've grown. Have you not? So I don't believe that I'm supposed to be her.
Right.
I believe that that there was a intent for us to continuously evolve as individuals. Some people evolve more rapidly than others, and I'm one of those people. I strive daily to experience today.
Right.
Some people are reliving the same moment. And one thing my husband and I talked about last night, we had a wonderful conversation, is that when he gets that one thing that he likes, that's his thing. So any restaurant that we've ever been at, I can go and order for him. I pretty much can cater to his every need because it is a need. It's difficult to cater to my needs because I don't need. Need is a foreign word for me. And maybe that's rooted in the fact that I never really knew how to need, and the things that I needed as a child wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So maybe I taught myself that whatever comes is what comes. So I really don't have an expectation. And whereas he can do the same thing over and over and over again, I'm seeking a new thing every day. There's miles that separate us in that, right? Mm-hmm. But now that I heard, it took me 20 years to hear how much he needs the same, me to show up for him. You know what I'm saying? It could be as simple. We've been having Taco Tuesday for years. My children have been saying they so tired of Taco Tuesday, and I've been saying to my daughter, well, I had to answer, but that's all your husband, that's all your daddy is thinking. He'll do something different if you tell him something different, but you got to tell him something different. I haven't even heard my own words. He'll do something different if I tell him something different. Yeah. But I haven't told him something different. You understand?
Yes.
So listen, ladies, I don't have the answer for how to stay married, because I can tell you there are many times throughout my marriage that I honestly said, if he walks away, I'm good. I'm good, because I know I can stand on my own feet. What he adds to me is companionship, but I don't feel broken without him. And that makes me different than a lot of women, because a lot of women feel broken without something. God made me whole. I don't feel my wholeness in being a wife. I don't feel my wholeness in being a mother. Those are components to me.
Exactly.
Those are aspects of me, but they don't make me me. So I've known for a long time that if we get a divorce, if he walks away from me, then I feel like that will release me from the sacredness of the commitment that I made, but that I would be okay with that. It ain't many women that can say they'll be okay with that.
You know what? There's probably a lot of women that can say that, but they hold that in because that's not a normal answer that you say out loud.
That goes back to that code switching that
they're
doing with themselves. I ain't code switching with myself.
That goes back to saying, if you say that, then number one, people looking at you, well, you really don't love your husband. That's not true. I was a whole person. We're saying the two shall become one, but the two, I was a whole person. Right. I was a whole person before I met this person. Right. Two of us. It wasn't a half and a half. Exactly. It was half and a half that came one. The two became one.
That's a truth that going back to me when I talk about other people needing a pour their chaser. That's a strong truth. You know what I'm saying? That I don't feel incomplete without a man. You know, and another reason why that's a delicate kind of statement is because you don't want your man to feel like you feel like he's less than.
Or I don't need you.
Or I don't need you. And my husband, one of the main complaints is that I act like I don't need him. And I'm thinking, I don't know how to need. So whereas a person may think, well, because somebody posted on my Facebook timeline, I said I need help. I want to plan this big to-do to celebrate the release movement. And where I am 5 years since I first uttered that word. When I said I need help, somebody was like, well, duh, Onnie. And then I had a conversation with him, and he was like, you just need to ask for what you need. I don't know how to ask for what I need because I don't know how to need. So it's not that I have a whole list of things and I'm just not sharing it. I don't have a list. I don't know how to get that. I don't know how to need. So throughout my marriage, being married to someone who would totally desire to give me what I need, and I don't know how to communicate that, then that's a barrier.
So talk to me about, what is it? Release.
Release.
Because it sounds really great, and I just want to really have you touch on release.
I'm going to touch on release, and I'm going to try to give you a condensed form of it. Release is I'm going to say a concept, a phenomenon that came forth from me at my 40th birthday party. And it, in essence, now I believe that release is just a process, a method of healing, like unpacking. At first, it was the emotional baggage that I thought about, but unpacking those things that are rooted in us that prevents us from living our authentic life and being our best self, right? And so one of the things that you said earlier, you talked about recognizing. When I first got the word release, it was just a word, like take the mask off, release, right? And I started thinking about letting go of things that was not serving me. So then I had a tagline, like, when I say had, I'm telling you about how God has given me the vision of release. It came in parts, but now I see a whole thing, right? And so the tagline became heal, let go, set my soul free. But when I would post it, I might have did heal, let go, set your soul free. Then I planned, my first event was an event called Coffee and Confessions. On the day of that event, I knew that I wanted to bring people together, and I wanted them to explore deep questions, like soul-stirring questions, but it's not important to me to hear the answers. So if I ask you a question, it's not important for me that you tell me what your answer is. I just want you to reflect on things.
Yeah, more rhetorical.
Yes. But not really. It is rhetorical, but it's self-rhetorical.
Okay.
It's not that rhetorical that you can't even imagine it. Because sometimes people ask me a rhetorical question like, well, how could you expect me not to? I don't really know because I'm not you.
Right.
But it's it's a self-rhetorical.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I developed these questions. Everybody had a place setting with their question and a notebook in case they wanted to write it out. But a lot of people shared out loud. And I have a YouTube clip I'll share with you to show you that first event, because I said, even on the clip, I don't know why I feel like I want to call this the release movement. I said that 5 years ago, not quite if you count in months and days, but 5 years ago. Now I recognize that the movement of release hasn't had mobility outside of me. Now it's time. 5 years later, it's time. So y'all get ready.
Yes.
But within me, it has moved so much, right? So release then became a process, a 7-phase process. Guess what the first one is? Recognize. Recognize the weight of the baggage.
Oh, wow.
You have to recognize what you're carrying before you can even begin to take it off. Remember how I told you how I moved things from my mind to this sacred box?
Okay.
I wasn't ready to process it, but I recognized that I was carrying it and it was weighing me down. So I had to recognize the weight of the baggage. Then I started looking at that baggage that I was carrying. Can't get into all of it, but that's the R. The E is embrace the idea of change. Before you can even change, you have to embrace the idea that I'm going to show up differently. If I start telling my truth out loud, it's going to expose every other truth attached to me. Am I willing to do that?
Yeah.
Is it easier for me to live a lie, or is it easier for me to unearth the things that have lived within me?
Right.
Embrace the idea of change. L is look inward. It was all about me. The whole release process is an inward process. It's about looking deep within. Recognize the weight of the baggage, embrace the idea of change, look inward. Then you have to elevate your mindset. You got to see it different. You got to see yourself differently. You got to think yourself higher. The mindset is everything. And if I think this little of myself, I can't become this big. Elevate your mindset, RELEA. Affirm good thoughts daily. I was posting daily affirmations. I don't post as many daily affirmations that I used to, but I was speaking over my life. I am fierce. I am anointed. I am blessed. That's how Fab came about. My character, Fabian, the affirmation parrot, is based on me, on an affirmation that I spoke to myself, that I am Fab. If you ask me how I'm doing, I was answering Fab, but I was telling myself, it didn't have nothing to do with you, that I am fierce. I am anointed. I was created for this, and I am blessed, right?
Right.
So it was affirming those good thoughts. RELEAS, set your intentions. I set an intention 5 years ago that I was going to release. It wasn't like I'm setting my intention and now I'm going to release, I'm going to unearth all this and I'm whole.
No, it's a process.
It's a process.
Absolute process.
It's a process. So it was set your intentions, and then the E was I've been doing a /, embrace and enjoy the journey.
Oh, wow.
Now I'm so ready to embrace. I published a 21-day devotional called Embrace and Release several months ago.
Oh, my goodness.
That doesn't even, when I published that, it didn't mean then what it means now for me to embrace release.
That's amazing.
So release. It is a movement.
It's
And
absolute
I'm
movement.
so excited to connect with Thick Thighs Matter because if we can marry those two issues and let women know thick thighs matter too.
Yes.
You know, like
Yes.
you're not less than. I don't even know
Absolutely
exactly
not.
what thick thighs mean to you, but I know what it means to me as another brown skinned girl.
Yes.
When I see my brown skinned sister saying thick thighs matter. Yes.
They do.
Yes.
Where can we find you on all social
Listen,
media?
right now I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place, and part of my release is bringing myself together as a cohesive package. That's part of my release, not shying away from all of these different things and bringing it together in one. But my name is Onnie, Onnie Poe, Poe. Google me. I Googled my name with a young girl yesterday who asked me what I did. I was amazed when Google had me listed in categories.
I love that.
Google me. Google me.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Thick Thighs Matter Podcast with Dr. Onnie Poe.
You said it right.
I said it right, girl. I said it right.
Yeah.
She did you amazing. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And listen, we got to bring you back because
Yeah, I
we're
would
going to
love to
talk
come
about
back.
that release.
I'm so excited about release.
We ready.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Y'all follow me and connect because I'm going to put out some information. I want to do a release photo shoot.
Oh.
Maybe we can have some Thick Thighs Matter shirts out and connect.